It all started in a dumpster. Don't worry, I've absolutely done way worse things for free craft supplies. Just a gal out here climbing her way to the top, or the bottom actually. This dumpster was full of demo goodness, and I wasn't about to let it go to waste. So who cares if it's 10 a.m. and people are just driving by like, what is this crazy lady doing? Climbing in the dumpster? It's fine. I just pretend they're not even there. Simmer down, simmer down. I went straight home and washed the filth off. Now let's look at my goodies. This is like one of those light covers, and I already have a plan for it. Yeah, just wait for it. I got this is like a third of a bucket of joint compound. I got some like panel boards there. It's the really thin stuff. Just lots of good wood that, yeah, look at the trim pieces. These long stained boards here, I actually ripped them down into 1x2s later and used them to build a cabinet. So always check your dumpsters. Lots of free goodies are in there. I also found 2 crib mattresses in the dumpster. They still had all the tags on them. They're in like waterproof casings, so they're clean, and the insides are made of whatever this is, and I can see me using this in many things. I can make pillows, I can make cushions, yeah, it can be like a box spring for my bed. I bought this big 12-inch cardboard tube for 15 bucks. It's meant for concrete, but I've got other plans for it. I'm going to hand saw it in half and make 2 foresty cabinet towers because I don't do basic furniture. I do forest fantasy furniture. These will turn into 2 tree trunk style towers. They will have shelving inside of them, and the middle will be like a hutch cabinet that I plan to build because van life furniture doesn't have to be boring. This wooden picture frame, if y'all remember from last week's video, it was a thrift store find, and would you believe it did fit this opening perfectly? So I turned it into a door, and this will be home for my miniature schnauzer. Okay, it's like the perfect little puppy den for him. I closed in the back with some salvaged vinyl or laminate flooring, whichever it's called. I added some vintage brass bling, and I used Velcro as a latch for now because that's what we call custom budget luxury around here. I'll cover the window panels later with some kind of rustic wire, something that says enchanted woodland, but it'll be breathable and easy for him to see out and not feel like he's closed in. He's old and he likes his private space. He's 13, and so he really enjoys having his own space that he can retreat to and feel safe. He only weighs about 9 pounds. Now, I did have a little snag here. The door doesn't open completely because it touches the drawers back there. See? Yeah. So, I mean, if you open the drawer first, it can open completely. But he weighs like 9 pounds. I can crawl through this opening. I'm sure he can get in and out of this opening just fine. Besides, this is just his little safe space when he feels he wants to get away from Charlie, my German Shepherd. She can be a bit much for him. Yep, you guessed it. More dumpster wood. Honestly, this whole build is starting to feel like a love letter to discarded materials. This scrap OSB board is about to become my bed frame. I'm going for a rounded head section that I'll turn into a little nesting nook later on. And it's going to have a narrow leg portion with a secret hidey hole using a salvaged piano hinge tucked into the very bottom portion. And yes, I'm taping my cut lines because OSB board, or whatever it's called, loves to splinter worse than my patience on a humid day with no ice for you sweet tea. What a bummer. gotta work with what you've got, right? Now, I'm using this scrap piece of wood here to try and get a nice curved line, um, because, drawing circles is not easy. But then I realized I had the bigger part here, and yeah, that just worked much better, and I could get my curve line as straight curved as possible. Does that make sense? Okay, and it is starting to come together quite nicely. I'm going to do it in sections because the board wasn't completely long enough, but it's fine. I just showed you there where I'm going to put the secret compartment. Uh, I was thinking that I wanted a nesting nook here, so that's why it's got the rounded portion. It's all a vision in my head, and I'm just trying to make it a reality, as close to what I see in my head as possible. Now, I've got a lot of these, and sure, you would think they're heavy, but they're really not. They're really old and actually very light. The drier wood gets, the lighter it is, so it's not really a lot of weight. And I'm just going to lightly sand over these to get some of the grime off of them because they've been outside quite a while. And I don't know how thick this OSB board is, but as long as you put enough braces underneath of it, it's not going to bow. Um, it'll be just fine. I mean, I'm like 5'3", 130 pounds. I don't need something 2 inches thick. It's gonna hold me just fine. So no worries. And here's what I have so far. It will get more bracing. This is just all I got done in this video. And there's my little hingy part. And I'm going to close that in underneath so you won't see it unless you pull the mattress back and lift the lid. So I like that. Now, for the most part, I've been building this van with trash, okay? But this was my little treat yourself moment. IOD transfers may not be cheap, but they're simple to use. Rub it down, peel it off, and boom, wildflowers. You can take a plain piece of furniture and turn it into a wildflower meadow. And they have more than just flowers. I'm not like sponsored or anything. And honestly, this was the first time I had ever bought these because they are crazy expensive. And I told myself I would never buy them. But I'm not really a painter, and I really wanted this desk to pop. I wanted it to look like a wildflower field, okay? So I paid $40 for this booklet, and I used every little bit that was in that book on the front of the desk. I made sure to get my money's worth. And yeah, it's just that simple. All right, y'all. So I put these cardboard tubes up several days ago, and I've just kind of been living in the space with them and trying to envision where I want the shelves and the openings. That's kind of how I do things. Glasses. Um, I build the basic structure, and then I just spend a couple days looking at the space, at the area, waiting for something to come to me. But it's Wednesday, and so it's time to make a decision. I kind of think I know how I want it to be, but we're just going to wing it. And that's how I do pretty much everything. I just wing it. And worst case scenario, this tube was like $15. So if I completely screw it up, I can just go buy another one. No big deal. One cut in half is for both spots. So I just need one. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. I got my Dremel tool out. Y'all know the Danger Blade, the grinder, the side grinder. Well, I call the Dremel tool the mini Danger Blade because I don't particularly care for the Dremel tool either. I guess handheld spinny saws, it's just not my cup of tea. Um, I can be a little bit clumsy, absent-minded when I get in the zone of working, and I just don't trust myself holding a spinning saw. So I don't even use a skill saw. I don't like the skill saw. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut these out. And it shouldn't take long. I just have 2 openings to cut in each cardboard tube, and then yeah, that's done. So let's do this. Okay, so I thought I was gonna use my Dremel for this part, but then I met the RotoZip, and yeah, like where has this thing been all of my life? It's way easier. It's not scary, and it cuts through these cardboard tubes like butter. Watch. I mean, now this is my very first time using it, so with practice will come perfection. But for the very first time, it's perfect. And they're not supposed to be perfectly shaped. These openings are supposed to look like parts of a tree. You know, you have knots and holes that form in trees, and that is what I'm aiming for here. And then I will put shelves in there, and then after the foam clay and all that good stuff gets on here, these will look like real tree trunk shelves. So cool. I love the RotoZip. Okay, so it's time for a little shop therapy. Since the van is being built from salvaged and thrifted items, I just figured I'd take y'all with me when I go on these little shopping hauls. Now, this is a place I like to visit. It is a thrift store, and they have like a partnership with some upholstery company, so they get a lot of cushions. And so at any time, you can go there and find all of your pillow and cushion needs, and they're fairly reasonably priced. So, yeah, if you're in the South Carolina area, then this is your place to go for some cushions. Well, South Carolina is a big place, but I don't really want to tell you exactly where I live. Anyhow, now this is pretty cool. This is a container that is wrapped in some bark. And sure, I could probably make this, but for $1.75, it is already made, and I will go ahead and buy it. And I also get a lot of my scrap fabrics from here. It's super cheap. Small pieces are $1, large pieces are $2, but really, they usually, if you take a bunch up there, they just give you a price for it. Usually less than what the tag says. I found this pretty sheer piece of ombre looking fabric, so I got that. Now, I also found this. This looks like it kind of looks like insulation that goes inside of speaker boxes. I don't know. I thought it would come in really handy. They had 2 rolls of it here, $1.75 each. So, yes, I brought those home. Now, my second stop for this day is Boys Camp Thrift Store. I really like shopping here. You can find a lot of screws and bolts and nuts and all of that good stuff, and it's usually fairly priced. These are all like between $1 and $3 per pack. But yeah, they get a lot of random tools and bolts in, so I always check out this store. I don't know what these are, but I'm sure they'll come in handy for somebody. Now, I saw this cabinet. It's not drawers, it's a cabinet, and I had different ideas for it. It was $15. I normally wouldn't buy something that's $15, but I had an idea of it laying on its side and it opening up, but putting the hinges on the outside so it opens up more flush with the base. And yeah, I've got several tweaks I want to do to it. But wait, I get around the corner and look, here is another one, and it is priced at $9. So I put them side by side, and I was like, what's the difference? They're the exact same thing. So why is one 15 and one is 9? Maybe they come in at different times. I don't know. But then I saw this little crack at the top of the $9 one, which is not a big deal. I will probably take the ends off anyways. So, of course, I took home the one for $9. Now, I set out on this thrift store journey to find 2 frames, preferably identical, that I could use for doors on the hutch cabinet that I am building. And look at this, 2 identical corkboard frames. They're framed in wood, and they're corkboard. And they are the perfect size, $2.50 each. And they're corkboard, so I can hang stuff on them. That is pretty awesome. Now, we're back home, and I'm just trying to give you a little visual of how I envisioned using this cabinet in the van. Now, I've got to do some tweaks to it. I'm going to take off all those knobs. We don't need all those knobs. But this will be at the foot of my bed, and it'll look much better when I get done tweaking it. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about here for this cabinet, and it fits perfectly. I mean, it perfect. Girl math, it works. Now I need to start building the hutch, the cabinet on top of the hutch. I don't really know what to call it. I'm calling it a hutch cabinet, so that's what it is. But you can see here, these two framed cork boards fit perfectly in between my cardboard tubes, and I'm just so ecstatic how I keep finding the right size things at my local thrift stores. Perfect. But now I have to build a cabinet, and I have no idea how to build a cabinet. Nope. Wait. I also visited Hobby Lobby. I needed some black paint. I got some air dry foam clay because we're going to be using a lot of that in future videos. And then I needed something to make shelves. I thought about wood discs, but I couldn't find any 12-inch wood discs. So I saw these cardboard cake platters, okay, and they were super cheap, and you get 6 in a pack, so I bought 2 packs. And I figure what I'll do is I'll just double or triple them up. And by the time I get done doing the crafty process I'm going to do to them, they are going to be quite sturdy enough to hold anything that I plan on storing in these cabinets. I'm just giving you a tiny little visual here of how I plan to put them in. There'll be actually 2 shelves, so there'll be 3 separate sections in each cardboard tube. And yeah, so it's going to work perfectly. It is a perfect fit and cheap, super cheap. Now we're going to move into the house, and we're going to get started transforming these cardboard trays into actual shelves. I have already planned out how many I want to be together for each shelf, and I'm just showing you my view here in my craft room. I like to always be able to see outside, even if I'm not able to work outside. So I just taped some together, and yeah, I've got all my shelves here, and I put the lines in opposite directions. So they're going side to side here, and then on the back they're going up and down. So that kind of makes the cardboard go in a crisscross pattern, and it will add to the stability of the cardboard. If you put the lines going in the same direction on all the pieces, then you're more likely to have your cardboard to bend and fold and collapse, and we don't want that. So you're going to need some masking tape. I get it from the Dollar Tree for $1.25 because we're going to cover every inch of these cardboard discs in masking tape. You're going to need some PVA glue, which is basically just Elmer's school glue, some water, and a container to mix the two together. Now, you could use fabric, you could use decorative fabric, you could use old sheets to do this. I'm going to use decorative paper because I want mine to look pretty, and I have a crap ton of decorative paper. I tend to stockpile it because I do a lot of decoupage, and see my hoard down there. I hoard a lot of stuff in here. This is my craft room. It's supposed to be the dining room in the camper, but I turned it into a craft room. My paint shelf does look empty. That's because all of my paint is currently outside right now. So yeah, we're just going to get done. Here I have wrapped it in the masking tape, okay? Every tiny, you don't want any cardboard showing. The masking tape is going to protect the cardboard from any moisture from the water and glue mixture because cardboard is basically paper. But yeah, this works. I do all of my armatures for my clay work in paper mache like this. You cover it first in masking tape. And you can see the dog hair in there. I always say everything I make is made with love and dog hair because, yeah, that crap is everywhere. Now, you can be as simple or as complicated as you want for this process. I'm doing a mixture of both because I have several shelves. I like this piece of paper, but I don't want it to look so prim and proper. I'm going to rip it in random places, very organically. So in the end, it should give the look of a broken china plate or something. Okay. So we're basically ripping it so we can glue it back together. um, but you'll still be able to see those ripped edges, and I don't know, it just looks better. If you take the time to do these little details, then it just makes your project look better in the end. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just ripping these up, and then we'll get on to the next step. Now here you can see that I've roughly placed my pieces together. This is just so I don't have to think after I pour my glue. Um, yeah, so now you just want to put a little bit of glue into your container. Well, about half full. You want to leave room to stir because once you add the splash of water, you need to stir, 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 stir. When you think it's mixed, mix it a little bit more. And it doesn't take a lot of water. We just want to make this glue more spreadable. Normal people would apply this with a paintbrush, so you want it to kind of be the consistency of paint, not too thin. Chalk paint. Okay, if you're familiar with chalk paint, let's make it like chalk paint. See that's the consistency you want right there. Now, like I said, most people would use a paintbrush. I prefer to use my hands. It goes so much faster, and I don't mind the mess. I just keep a towel close by, and after I spread it out, I just wipe my hands off. Okay, call me lazy. I don't know. I'm very impatient. So smooth it out, and just till you have a nice thick layer. We don't want it too thin because this is like thick, almost like cardstock paper, and we don't want the glue to dry before we get the paper positioned, because as you're putting this picture back together, you're gonna have to slide it around and make sure that it goes into place. And if it dries before you get there, then your project is ruined. Now we're just going to carefully take our picture and start putting it back together. And if you're if you're a puzzle person, you can see I did start this piece too far up, but that's what the thick glue is for. Once I see that I'm out of place, I just slide everything around and put it in the correct place. So yeah, uh, this was quite therapeutic sitting here and putting this back together. Again, it's like I made my own puzzle. And you can see those little ripped lines showing up, but we're going to add one more detail to make those lines really pop so that way you can see them. Okay, now we're going to let this dry before we do anything else. You want that glue to dry. Now here's a simple one I did. I just put the glue down and then I put a full sheet over top of it. Okay, so you can definitely go the easy route. But look here, I used my ink pads, and I get these from Temu. They're like $2 a piece. First, I added some of the brown into the cracks, and then I went over in the rose dust. Why? Because I like the color, okay? I like pinks, different shades of pinks. And now we're going to take some sandpaper, and you're just going to press down firmly in a straight down motion, not side to side, not up and down, just down. And you go across the edge, and that will take your excess paper off. I mean, you could simply go around it with an X-Acto knife, but I like the rough edge. Now for the bottoms of these shelves, I've got this natural fiber mulberry paper. Okay, you can use brown craft paper, you don't have to get fancy, but I plan to do the inside of the tubes in this paper as well because I think it just looks barky. It looks like something that would be outside, and I wanted to cover the inside of the cardboard tubes with an earthy look. So here I've just placed my shelves in place. They're completely dry, not finished, not installed. I just want to show you what it's going to look like. Okay, we have perfect, cute little shelves, and yeah, how sweet is that? It's the details that make everything come together. Now I've got all of my mulberry paper out here because I'm going to do the inside of both of these tubes, okay? And that way you won't see the lines, and it'll look less like cardboard and more like the inside of a tree. And yeah, so that's what I'm going for. I'm going to show you all of them I did. So there's that cracked china plate look I was going for, and I think it turned out very nicely. Something I didn't mention, after everything's dry, just go over it with some glue or Mod Podge, just, to seal it up quite nicely. And these are very sturdy, okay? They're not going to come apart. Now for this one, I just ripped up a bunch of random papers and just decoupaged them on there very randomly, okay? And yeah, it just kind of gives it a scrappy book look, and I like that. So let me know in the comments what you think of this shelf design. Here's a place that I pass by every day. I usually get like box springs from here, and I take them apart and I use the wood for other projects. I've used some in the van. Today I passed by and found this crate, and it's one of those shipping crates. I've already used some of that wood in the van, so here's another one. I'm gonna try to fit it in the car and bring it home because that is a nice scrap plywood. And here are the insides of my tubes. They're still a little wet, but you can see how much nicer it looks with that mulberry paper in there. It just gives it a nice seamless look, and it doesn't look like cardboard anymore. And see how pretty that goes together? I've still got to permanently install the shelf, so I'm just not ready for that step yet. And I've got to figure out some type of ledge or a door or something for these, but that will come in a later video because we don't want our stuff falling out as we're driving down the road. So yeah, now this shelf I put in the back. That's so when I'm laying in bed, I can store like my phone or what have you up there in that little top shelving area. Now, I went to my storage unit and I climbed the mountain, all right, because I was looking for these 3 pieces, and turns out they weren't even in this storage unit, they were in another storage unit. But you can buy these at the hobby store for like $3 or $4 a piece. Very cheap and very useful for what I'm doing here, okay? I'm going to take these outside and I'm going to kind of cut them down because I want to attach these foam pieces to my cardboard tubes because I'm trying to create a magical forest area inside my van, okay? So I want to add a female fairy spirit, tree spirit coming out of the tree, so her face will be glued to the top there. I'll show you in just a few. But first I've got to cut her down. All right, I'm using a hand saw. I know a heat tool would be great for this, but I don't have a heat foam tool. And I learned very quick, you can't go back and forth with the styrofoam, and you can't really go forth. You just need to go back. And it's very messy. Do it outside. Don't breathe it in. You'll have styrofoam balls all in your nose and your lungs. That is probably not a good thing. But yeah, just go back, 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 and this thing really does cut like butter. Once you stop trying to go forth, don't go forth. Just go back. And I cut her completely in half, but then when I took her in, I decided I wanted to cut a little bit more off. I don't want it to stick out too far. And I also cut her neck off because she just didn't need a neck. And I'm showing you here how much more I did cut off. And yeah, there's the back of her head. I don't know, we'll use that for something else later. But yeah, her neck's gone. I could probably make some more mushrooms out of that stuff if I wanted. But she's gonna go here at the top of this cabinet. And then I'll probably make some faux vines and some moss or whatever to give her some nice flowing hair. And we'll use some foam clay on her face to make her more textured and whatnot. I've just taped her in place so I can just visualize it over the next few days and come up with a design theme. Now, I may or may not use these mushrooms. I cut them in half, so 2 mushrooms gave me 4. But I'm just not sold on that idea yet. I feel like they're too big and bulky. But I'm going to leave them there for now. Again, just so I can live with it for a few days. Now, I'm not adding any over here because I want to put some shelves made out of branches, like, stretching from the side of that shelf. So I'm not, yeah. Okay, so here, skip that. We'll get back to that later. Here's the cabinet I built, all right? Now, I took that wood from earlier that I got from the dumpster, and I ripped it down kind of like 1x2s, but not straight, okay? But it did the job. I built this cabinet, and it's not even that crooked, guys. It's not. It's actually kind of straight. I'm very proud of this cabinet. And I'm just going to use some salvage laminate flooring tiles to go around the sides and the back, and a scrap piece of wood for the top, and a shelf. And it's perfect. It's not too heavy. And now I just need to get some hinges to install my corkboard doors. And this hutch is complete. And I'm so proud of it. And really, all it cost me was $5. Because for the doors, I paid $2.50 each. All right. Everything else was free. Everything else came from the dumpster. And I know there's a little bit of space at the top and the bottom of the doors, but I did that on purpose. I didn't want to make it too small. I figured a little bit too big would be fine, but I planned on my wood being crooked and my cabinet being crooked, so I wanted to leave some wiggle room. It's going to work perfectly. Perfectly for me, which is perfectly imperfect. And that's how I strive to live my life. Anyhow, let me know in the comments, what do you think of my cabinet build? Any contractors or carpenters out there screaming, "Oh my God, what did she do? That's horrible." It's okay. It's functional. It's not going to fall apart. It's good. Okay, guys, so this is where we're going to end this video. It's only Friday. Technically, I could work another day, but a storm is brewing, okay? We're getting a really bad storm. It's going to be here any minute, so I need to pack up the van. And it's going to be rainy tomorrow too, so I'll just take this weekend off. Well deserved and much needed. Here is a look up close of those rub-on transfers, and I think they are absolutely beautiful. Do they look a little busy? Yes, but that's what I was going for. Have you ever been to a wildflower meadow? It's very busy and very chaotic and very beautiful. I love how this van build is coming along, and I hope you love it too. And I hope I haven't bored you too much. I'm still learning how to film and how to talk to the camera, so bear with me. I may or may not get better. I may just always be this chaotic hot mess on here. I don't know. But I am having the time of my life building this fan out, and I cannot wait until it is complete. It is going to be absolutely beautiful. If you could just see what I see for the final vision of this van, it is just, it's going to be definitely one of a kind. And here I'm showing you how ominous it's looking outside because the storm is coming from just over that hill. And I'm scrambling around here trying to get all of my wood and my tools and everything piled into the van. And this is why I can't work in bad weather, because I don't have a garage. I don't have anywhere to store my stuff. So when bad weather comes, I have to store it in the van, and I can't work in there when it's piled full. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please drop me a comment. Let me know your opinions. And I hope to see you next Sunday at 4 p.m. Have a great day.